back here. Oh wow. On today's episode. That's why too, like, you know, for King Island is so windy. So I had my hair, I was growing it out because it was so windy.
Yeah.
And for 2-3 months I didn't cut it because it was so bad when I first got back here. And I could I tried cutting it, I tried to grow it out. I just got like the skin faded again.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this too much to grow my hair. I do have some notes here.
Good.
Just to kind of like, you know, reference to keep myself on point.
I mean, I said the same thing to Mino, like, if there's anything that you share that you're like, please don't include that, like, we don't have to include everything you say.
Yep.
Yeah, we can read answers to questions and stuff too, right?
Yeah, we're just like filming so we can cut, we can start over, we can
Nice.
yeah, whatever you want.
Edit.
Yes, exactly. We'll edit a lot.
Post production. Cool.
Well, I won't, but you don't want me to do that.
Yeah, the post, but yeah, just getting used to like, you know, I transitioned to online business and like the script and like editing and just like how to like do the overlays and all the software. But you know what, I'm just trying to go through, so basically I was developing apps and I'm actually using Gemini Pro to help out with coaching, nutrition, video analysis, and for you know, for editing, I do basic stuff. I just use CapCut.
Okay.
There's AI slots to use. I know like for Instagram and stuff, I think I've been told from other creators that CapCut has a watermark or something in their code, and then Instagram doesn't really like using outside sources of their not proprietary app itself. So like, okay, well, shoot, that's all right. I'll still use it. So for CapCut, yeah, I can just like set. There's a template already used by a creator, so I'll just use their template and upload my videos, and it's just super quick. And people think I did. No, I didn't do it. I wish I could do that. So I'm kind of doing it still works, but I'm just doing the, you know, I don't want to see cheating, right?
It's a tool, you're using a tool.
It is a tool.
So let's just start with your name and a little bit about you.
For sure. Yeah, so how, you know, everything's
good?
I'm in the scene here. I don't see the action on the floor.
No mark.
All right, so my name is Ryan Omiso. I am, you know, First Nations. Actually, let me read that again. So my name is Ryan Omiso, Cree First Nations on my grandmother's side, and Hong Kong from my grandfather's side. So I recently did my ancestry DNA, and I got the results back, and it's 67% First Nations and 17% from Hong Kong. But also when I got back the results, I just finished watching a Netflix series, Vikings, and I'm like 1% Norwegian, 1% like...
A little bit Viking.
I'm like, hey, I'm 1%. And yeah, so that's my, you know, back for heritage-wise, and I'm turning 44 this year. Even though I'll obviously share a little bit more of my history and stuff, but yeah, so turning 44, and you know, when the reason I am here is to deal with certain things that happened in my past, and you know, I just turned 18 when things happened, so it's been a long time ago for that lifestyle that I used to live, that I ended up no longer partake in. But yeah, so Ryan Omiso, born and raised in Vancouver, and yeah, it is. Nice. I'll try to hit pause in there so you can cut it.
It's all yeah, so what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced because of your record?
Yeah, you know, so the challenges for sure, like, I guess to think back of, you know, what I've done, it was such a long time ago, it's best to kind of share a story or a journey of who I once was. So again, like, you know, mentioning that I'm turning 44 this year, you know, but when I was living that certain lifestyle, I was, you know, just the little background into the path I was going down. You know, from 14 to 18, you know, I was addicted to heroin on and off for years. And during that time span, being, you know, going through that addiction, but also to supporting it, obviously led me down towards more of a criminal lifestyle. And obviously hanging around a certain crowd that fed into that mindset of, you know, supporting your habit and being involved with gangs. And that just compounded the image, and also it kind of hurt who I was in the sense of who I'm becoming. right? So that I really had a self-hatred towards myself because I was living this bad lifestyle, and I didn't like the person who I was looking in the mirror and what I was doing. And of course, that just fed deeper into my addiction and going through, just like how you progress in life, I was progressing in that lifestyle, which did led me towards incarceration. Right? So that from 14 to 18, weeks after turning, that's when I would become incarcerated. And, just having that lifestyle was going down. I always say, I used to tell youth my history, and, going through incarceration was a blessing in handcuffs, because that path that I was living and the lifestyle and the values of that person who I once was leading that I was getting far deeper into the criminality of everything. And thankfully, looking back, that incarceration was a blessing, because I was getting far deeper into a path that was going to take me down, take my life either through overdose or even getting deeper into the criminal lifestyle through the gang involvement. And it was a path of something that I had to go through, and being incarcerated really focused or really forced me to realize who I once was and Ryan, who I was becoming. And being inside, I was inside for 11 months, and I realized, the person who I was becoming is I can't live that lifestyle. The people who I was with, the mindset, the self-hatred I had, and realizing, what actions brought me to incarceration, who I was with, and of course, thankfully also to talking to other inmates. They were kind of sharing their story, and they were kind of telling me, Ryan, the stuff that you're doing, the path that you're going along is just going to make you far deeper into this world. And they were telling me how I don't deserve to be there. They were telling me, giving me warning signs about if you go down this path, you're going to be more further down your addiction. And we can tell by how you are, you don't suit to be in here. You shouldn't be in here. That's what they were kind of telling me at the time. And I took that to heart and realized, from their stories of being in and out of jail and losing their family and the stuff that they were doing and the stuff that they regretted, and me being 18 and just turning 19 inside as well too. And I don't want to live that lifestyle. I don't want to go back. It was hard to be inside, away from family and friends, and just be able to go inside. Growing up, I had a great childhood, a loving family. Having the actions that I did and the mistakes that I chosen brought me there. And I remember going through my parole hearing, and my family member, my family was present, and she was talking for me in front of the parole board, and she was doing a lot of speaking. I was just kind of sitting there, and I kind of looking down a little bit, and then I guess the agitation or the annoyance, you could feel that the parole board staff or the members were kind of getting annoyed that she was talking for me. And one of them asked, we're hearing a lot from you. Let's hear it from Ryan. Let's hear from him and what he has to take. And I could hear the tone in the person's voice. And I stood up and I said, I realized what brought me here, and I did the work inside this past 11 months to realize whatever it was, I think 11 months. And I understood why I was coming to here from the people I was hanging out with, and also the addiction to heroin. And I'll never come back. I'll never come back. This is a huge eye-opening for situation for me, and I'll never come back. And I guess from me finally voicing that, thankfully I did get parole the next day, and that was 24 years ago. And I never went back, and I never touched heroin since then. And it's getting on at 19. I went down towards, of course, now graduating high school, so when 19 on parole, I went to halfway house, touched base with spirituality, and having that religious aspect of having, of course, doing a program as well too, and having a higher power to look towards, and understanding how to deal with self-hatred and pain and anger, and going through the necessary steps to be more, I guess, civilized and to conduct myself in a more healthier way. So I went back to Dogwood, or I started Dogwood. I got my education in high school, and my grandmother who raised me is her own son. Just to backtrack a little bit. So for the first 17 years, I was told that my biological mother was actually my sister. So when I turned 18, they told me, okay, you know what, your sister is actually your biological mom. She was 14 when she had you. And I was just like, at that time, when I found out, that's when I was really heavy into addiction. And that just got me everything, my whole life kind of flipped upside down. It was very confusing. And then, so my grandmother, who I thought was my mom, she's still there, rest in peace. She raised me, and I'm very happy for that. And looking back at my life and what I was going through at that time, I kind of see how I want to become a better person, because not having that father figure, I never met my father. I recently, I think at 39, that's when I found out his first name. But yes, understanding that, even though despite being First Nations, I know now, hearing other stories and certain aspects that are happening for First Nations youth, and me being at 14, being addicted to heroin, and seeing what other youth are going through, they need to, or be better suited for the community to hear people who's gone through addiction and who's come through, that situation and become better, and to showcase to other youth that there is a way out. And even though that I did have that criminal behavior and a gang lifestyle when I was younger, that person who I once was is not defined in stone who I can be, who I can become. And to be thankful and to have my life continue to go down this path, being 44 and going through the necessary steps and the work that is demanding of an individual to become a better person, that needs to be shown to other youth or other people who are going down the similar path of who has been incarcerated and who wants to become a better person, and to show themselves and the community and their family members that it can happen. And we need to see, or it'd be beneficial for people to see the success stories of other individuals who've gone through similar paths and who've overcome certain things in life. And that is a driving force for myself. I see, thankfully I was working with First Nations youth, and by running or leading, co-leading, sharing circles. And when I share my story and how I connect with youth at the time, I can see the glimpse, or I can kind of see like, oh, I did connect with them, and just having that one connection of showing them like, there is a way out, and there is a possibility, or there is a chance for you to become a better person, or to deal with certain situations in your life on a healthier manner, as opposed to running towards drugs or running from your problems, or understanding the people that you are currently with, your inner circle, they're going to either elevate you or they're going to cap you into a certain lifestyle. And to show them that, look, even though I had all my situation in the past, I'm a far different person who I once was. And I showcase that through the work that I do with my clients, being a personal trainer for 16 years, and martial arts instructor for the past 22 years, and showing them that there is a different path, a different journey that you can take, that there is a way out. And that's, I think we'll have, knock on wood, we'll have another 40, 50 years of sharing my story, or at least having the ability to inspire or to showcase that a youth First Nations journey on, that you can become a better person through action, through health, through wellness, and through making sure that you are there for your community and your family. And despite the fact that I don't know who my father is, and that's okay, we may in the future have a working relationship or a established relationship, but until then, I can't allow my negative thoughts, and I can't allow old behaviors to resurface. And by doing that, by keeping my shadow self, the old Brian, is by living values of honesty, of self-respect, of making sure that I am living through an honor system of addressing behaviors that may limit me or what might bring about an older version of myself. Now, I tell youth that even though the person you see today is different from who I once was, but just like the shadow of me, that shadow is my old self. That old self is always going to be there. But it's through actions and the work to make sure that I stand forward as the person you see today, and that shadow will always be in the past. It's a part of me, yes. However, through actions of what I do today can silence that shadow, that can lead the way through accountability of the work that I put together today. And yeah, so it is. It took me a while to come to this position of applying for a pardon. It was holding me back because of I wasn't sure I was able to get it. I wasn't sure what the necessary steps to go about it. Just being focused on what I can do by making sure that I don't go down the path again. I kind of put that on the side burner, and turning 44 this year, and just last year I just went, okay, let's get this. Let's base this paperwork. Let's face the necessary steps to get this application going. And last year, I was looking to hire a lawyer, reaching out to through emails to certain law firms, and I was kind of going back and forth with emails. And I remember I'm not sure if I volunteered or somehow, but there was a First Nations Law Society that I came across, and I reached out to them again and said, hey, I'm in this position, I do have a line of record, and I want to get the pardon application going. Do you have a referral, or do you guys do this as part of your service? And they responded back to me and said, no, sorry, Ryan, we don't do that. However, there is a connection we do have with Connective. There is their email, and you can reach out to them. It may help or not, but at least you'll have some sort of direction. Very perfect, sweet, awesome, beautiful. So I emailed Connective, and I got an email within days. I was very surprised because through the law firms and the other lawyers that I was emailing, it was back and forth, and it took a while. So I guess at the time I was surprised because I guess they're really busy. They don't want to work with a certain case of getting a pardon application started. And Anna replied back to me within days of my original email. And we got the process going. Asked me certain questions. So she asked me questions about my case and where things were, and how far, and all the information that was needed to start the application. And within a week later, after I gave necessary information, we were meeting up at the police station and getting things going. And I was very, very happy and shocked at how fast it was, because I understand that there's organizations that will have a time frame for certain things, but this was very quick. So I'm very thankful for how fast that was. It's being with the history of being with the First Nations youth and all this stuff. I know there's a process and there's necessary steps and I guess hurdles you have to go through. That's what I was kind of worried about. That's what I was worried about as well, is going through the hurdles and going through the red tape of applying for the pardon. I wasn't sure how the cost of everything, but thankfully, Anna helped me with all of that information, and it was far simpler than I once thought. I thought it was a far more painful situation to go through, but it was thankfully with Anna and Connective, it was a lot easier than anticipated. All right, so my experience with that is a huge relief. Because how fast it was and how the process to get things going was fast. It is the work and the mindset of helping is paramount, and for me to, as an ex-con, to come through to terms of, okay, well, Ryan, it's been 24 years, you have to go down that path again of you being that person. So you have to come to terms with yourself and really understand that you need to get beyond this and talk with these relations again about your past. And I remember before I talked with Connected and Anna, I was volunteering with the First Nations organization, and they asked for a criminal record check. And I remember going to the police station. And I was talking to the individual behind the glass panel, and he asked for my name. And I remember I told him, I need a criminal record check for this organization. I'll be volunteering, and he searched my name, and I guess my criminal record popped up, and he looked at me like he did a double take, and I was like, wait until he shocked me too, because like I guess the severity of what I did in my past. And he's like, what do you want to volunteer for? And it was like, oh, they know, like I fully disclosed like what I've done, and they know what I've done in the community. But it was just very funny to see the reaction once he looked at my record. And it was funny too, because he's like, so once we do this fingerprint check, do you have any other criminal activity or any arrests that you are aware of? Because if you're not aware of it, we will find out. Like, no, it was just the one time, well, just the one incident at that time frame. He's okay, just to let you know. If anything pops, or if you forgot about anything, we'll find out. Yeah, don't worry, get the process going. But it was just fun to see looking back at it now. But yes, I was very thankful for the process of how things are going through. I know it's still the application is still being processed, and whatever the outcome is, it's out of my control. The only thing I have control is going in today and making sure that I live day by day by the values of being authentic and being aware of my actions and behaviors, and to make sure that I live as a leader the best way I can for my community and for my future family. And I hope that covered lots. I know you gave me questions. I didn't want to go through the questions, like kind of like a journey.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answered the question.
But you can go back to some of them. Yeah, totally. 100%. That's great.
You can touch on one.
Cool.
That's great. So let's just go. Were there specific opportunities that felt out of reach because of your record?
Yeah. So definitely having yes, the sort of out of reach or opportunities definitely was a setback. I know from going through certain organizations, I had to disclose the record and the criminal activity and the person I was talking with. Well, it's too bad, because there were certain opportunities, job options I could have actually referred you to, but they can allow the criminal record to pass for that. So like, oh, it's okay. So I get it, I understand that. It's certain requirements, and yeah, so it's definitely tough and challenging with that sense, to go through or to have opportunities yet having that criminal record, and I can't run from that. I have to own up to that no matter what, and just saying like, no, I do have a record, and this is what happened, and this is what I'm doing now, and that what happened years ago, but still it's still on that record, it's still on that paperwork. Right, so there's opportunities I did miss.
What emotions come up for you when you thought about your record?
Yeah, so the emotions definitely is, the emotions that arises when I'm thinking about it, about my past and what I've done, is it does bring me down in the sense of that's who I once was, that person, and I have to separate myself from that who I once was to the person I am today. And so, can you ask me that again, please?
Yeah, of course. No worries. So, what emotions came up for you when you thought about your record?
Right. Yeah. So the emotions that came up for me thinking about my record is a similar line of thinking back of a devastating event or a tragic event that happened, and to look at it again definitely brings up those feelings of of shame, of pain and hurt. And when I look back and think about my record and bringing myself back to that position of who I once was, I have to be careful, because if I look back and see who I once was and the feelings that arise and that pain happens again, just like looking back at an accident or looking back at a horrible event, I can be trapped in that, into the feelings or into that atmosphere of pain and suffering again. So I really have to make sure that I disassociate myself from that whole person who I once was and the person I am today. Because if I don't, if I look back and those feelings come up again, I have to squash those feelings, or I have to make sure that I am keeping myself safe and separate from that person who I once was. So feelings will always arise. It's just my ability to separate myself and a safe distance from who I once was, to make sure that I stayed on the right path that I am on today.
What made you decide to apply for a record suspension?
So even though it was 24 or 25 years ago when the incident happened, I remember talking with certain people about they were applying for their part, and it took them 10 years or so. I didn't give the exact details of it. Like, okay, well, 43 years old at the time, I was thinking, another 10 years to think or to get this permanent application going. Like, I was just keep doing it, I was just go for it, I was apply for it, doing all this proper work, but yet I still haven't addressed this situation. And to go through, I don't want to say running from it, I don't want to say I'm hiding from it, but it is something, if I want to progress in life, I do have to address it. And me taking that 24 years of, okay, well, this happened a long time ago, let's bring it all back up again. And if I want to progress to, hopefully, I do want to have a family, and I do want to have kids. 43, I know I'm getting up there, but I do have to address this. And at the time, okay, well, if I want to be that person, if I want to be that, the great father, leader, community leader, or whoever that person is, I really have to make sure I take care of this. So I decided to let's look into it and get the application. Even if it's 10 years or whatever it may be, let's get it started.
What were some of your concerns and hesitations? I think you kind of touched on it, but
Yes, the hesitation to get things started. It's just like I understand the process of taking it, how long it will take, and from me personally telling people about my past and what I've done, and their reaction is some of them were very judgmental, and even to the sense of not even talking to me anymore. So just me bringing in my past and being addicted to heroin, being an ex-gang member, and the stigma behind it is attached to me, and to go through that again in paperwork, and to go to the office of the police station again and just go through all that stuff. Like, I didn't want to, I was really hesitant on that. Thankfully, Connective was that bridge that helped me with it, to have another individual to be there with, to ask questions, or even to guide me as these are the steps, this is what we're going to do. And that was just more clarity, and I guess it was a more safer approach to applying for the process, as opposed to me being on my own with it. And yes, that really helped out, just with knowing what the steps were and the proper steps to take.
So what was your experience like going through the program?
So the experience, definitely was the experience working with Connective and Anna being a caseworker. It was, being a coach myself, I understand how people who have no idea what to do and have an idea of going through the proper steps or proper channels is confusing. So having Connective to have the experience of working with people like myself who wants to go through the part of an application, this is what the journey looks like, and these are the setbacks. And I was talking with Anna, she's asking for, the part of the requirements was looking back 13 years for your residence. And I don't know, I can't remember 13 years. I barely remember last year. And so that was that's kind of funny to go through. But it was just cool how to go through how they helped out with the application process and certain things that I was confused on. It was great to have actual a direction. Because if it was just me, I probably would have put it away. Like, I'm not dealing with that. 13 years, I'll just wait. So a different grade have an outside source telling me what to do.
Yeah. So was there parts of the process that were confusing or difficult to navigate, I guess?
If it was just me doing the application process myself, I probably would have been still stuck on page 1. But thankfully with Anna and Connective, we've got through that application process so fast, and I even celebrated the feedback with my family and shared my praise to Connective, how fast things were, and they were shocked as well too. Like, oh, wow, that's really fast, that's good. So that was awesome having this feedback with dealing with the organization or the society.
Great. What kind of support stood out to you the most?
So the support that stood out to me the most was just having the speed factor of responding through email. Like I know, I am a culprit of this, of not responding in a timely manner for certain things. So for to talk about Connective and to share what I want to accomplish with the party application and where I am at, and which I don't have anything that I know where to start, but to have Connective understand, okay, this is where you're at, you need this, this, and this, and all the necessary information that is relevant for my case to start. Like, okay, that's perfect. Okay, well, that experience, just having that fast track of going through the process was a huge eye-opener for me. I could always look online to see what steps are needed, but having Anna and Connective to see, okay, these are the ones, this is the path, this is what we need to accomplish. And having the speed factor behind it was very, very helpful and very eye-opening for everything.
What would you change with the system if you could?
Changing the system, and I was thinking about this prior to, and changing the system of not necessarily. The one thing I can think of was from that question by itself was even though that I went through a certain thing in my life, it is the system of saying, okay, well, if that person, individual, me addressing it, and by doing the necessary work to making sure that I don't become that person I once was. So changing the system in the sense of, yes, that person made a mistake, I made that mistake, and having the stigma or the judgmental viewpoint of who I once was separate from the person who I am trying to become or who I've become since then. So it was changing the system in regards to having society realize, yes, this individual has done a wrong and has due diligence in the justice system by going through incarceration, but not having that specific moment in time be judged for the person he is today. And changing the system in regards to Connective and that process, there was nothing really changed in that sense. It was beautifully done. how helpful and impactful and the speed factor behind it is it's one of the fastest I've gone through in regards to organization. So that doesn't change in that sense.
What would you say to someone who's unsure about applying?
To touch base with a person who is thinking of going through the process of getting that pardon. It's been 24 years for myself, which I started years ago, but just to have the understanding that if you hold things back, especially for something so large and impactful as a criminal record to have, is to go through and just face it head on and to deal with whatever repercussions or to deal with any situations, that feelings that do arise, because that's going to be a weakest link, so to speak, in your chain of security. So for myself, thinking, okay, well now it's been 24 years, I gotta bring that box, the old box of Ryan, back to my present day, who I am today. And I just understand that, okay, well, I am not that person anymore, so I don't have to worry about that shadow. I don't have to worry about that person anymore. So let's clean out the closet of skeletons in the proper sense of getting this part of an application started and dealing with an organization that has the values of wanting to help the community and help me go down this path of the application. So if you are on the fence with anything, make sure you have a support system if you're going through it and you're anything that do arise, making sure you keep yourself safe and you keep yourself far from the actions that lay you down in the path of that criminal lifestyle, and know that Connected or whoever you may be talking with, they have the values that are embedded in their organization that want to help you and help you succeed in your process of application.
So what do you wish more people understood about people who have criminal records?
Sorry, say that again, please.
What do you wish more people understood about people who have criminal records?
So speaking from experience with, telling people my past of having a criminal record and certain specifics about it, I wish that people would see the growth of that person, hopefully that they've done compared to the person who did it in the past and what they've accomplished throughout that process, and for them to have an open heart and open mind and to see the person to see my heart as an individual or see their heart and compare their characteristics, that the actions they take today compared to the person they once were, and to understand that, okay, well, this is a different person. Again, I even tell clients, certain clients that my past, and they are very surprised and shocked because they don't see me, they don't see me as that individual, or even my youth when I kind of share them my past, and they don't see that, which is good. It's great. It's good things. It's showing me that I'm putting in the necessary work, but it's making sure that people with a criminal record, it is by actions that they are taking every day that are growing themselves, but also making sure that they're growing their community as well. So yes, the person did this event or situation where they did an act, but we have to take a look at the whole picture of the person's soul and their characteristics that they are doing today. And we have to weigh that against the person who he once was.
What changes would make the biggest difference for people trying to move forward?
What changes? Sorry, say it again, please.
What changes would make the biggest differences for people trying to move forward?
For the necessary steps or actions to take for an individual to make sure that they solidify the person they are becoming, the changes they have to make, is really reconstructing or deconstructing their character. The person who I once was in the past, the people my inner circle, the way I spoke, the way I conducted myself, the way I dressed, and the input or the influence I had created that role Brian. And that value and that ecosystem who I once was, that made me who I once was. And what I'm trying to say is, how you behave, the thought process you have, the influences that are around you, the support system you have, whether negative or positive, will help create the individual you are. So if you're wanting to change and to become a person who is far different than the person you once were going to incarceration, you have to see who that person once was and take out absolutely everything and look at everything, audit that person, and replace the behaviors, mindset, characteristics of that person. So that's when I share with clients and tell them my history or my story, they don't see that individual. Because I had to make sure that, okay, well, whatever that ecosystem or whatever that person was, I have to replace absolutely everything. The behaviors, the mindset, the habits, and my daily construction of how I go about my daily life, I have to change. And so that person is a far different individual than I once was. So at the end of the day of it, making sure that whoever you want to become, take a look at the person and their characteristics of what they've done. Okay, what can I take from that person? Because Ryan is still here. My heart is still here. I'm still that individual. However, there is a mindset and a way of life that I can take a look at and bring forward. And once I understand, okay, well, if I want to have living a drug-free lifestyle, is making sure that I deal with my pain, that I don't run to drugs, that I don't run from my problems, that I address them full on and take responsibility, take accountability for who I am today. And if I want to have that loving family and I want to make sure that I am that father, I have to deal with all that pain and suffering. So I want to bring that and show that to my family, because they'll learn from my mistakes, they'll learn from my actions. So what you want to become, take a look at the person you are in the future and bring those characteristics to today. Yeah, I hope I got that down.
Great.
You need to be in motivational.
Yes, you can motivate me anytime.
So have you been granted a rapid suspension or?
No, it's long. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're only within 6 months.
Yeah, so we submitted your application in
Jack.
October.
October.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then it should be.
So, and his was a 1 year, the parole board has 1 year to process his application. So we're still,
Oh, they have 1 year.
yeah, they have 1 year. From did you get a letter from them?
I
saying
did.
That yeah, so 1 year from that date on that letter.
Oh, so they
So I think they probably sent it to you in January. then?
So I think so. Yeah, in January.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay,
it's
so
1 year from that date, but it could be sooner.
yeah. No, for sure. Of course. I know it's funny
but
too because like.
just a waiting game at this
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's yeah, no, thank you. Hopefully you got that.
If once that's done, how's that going to change your life?
Yeah. So having just once it's completed, whatever outcome it's going to be, you know, having that completion of it's. I know being First Nations, traveling to the States. Funny story when my family recently moved to Cayman Islands. They have permanent residency now, so they bought and moved there. But when I never traveled because I had that permanent record, so I never had a passport, not until two years ago. So I know for First Nation, there's the J Treaty, where First Nation are technically they can, despite having a permanent record, I can still travel to the States and back to Canada. But so anyway, I remember when I was going to Vancouver airport, where we are, and they're asking for my passport. I haven't traveled at all to the States with my passport. I went to Canada just with my status card or my BC ID, and that was fine. So going through the passport process, this was definitely different. I remember he asked for my passport, and I was shaking away, and he's like, "Oh, why are you shaking? Are you free to fly?" In my head, I was saying, "My criminal record." Oh yeah, well, I'm super free to fly. So I guess he was flagged and stuff, so I had to go through security, and I had to talk to them about it, and you know, show them my passport and tell them I was going to Cayman Islands. I'm just going through the States as having a connecting thing. And I would the customs officer was like, looked at me, looked at the computer, and said, you're not really allowed to go in. So you know, I guess you know, I'm just assuming with the J Treaty and stuff how that goes through the process. So like, we'll let it go through. It's gonna be on your we have to mark down what you're doing and stuff. So making sure that we have certain things to play. And at the time going through, I was going to Miami, and he was asking once I got to Miami to go through the process again. And they're like, okay, well, we'll allow you to go through, but you do need a blood quantum letter from your First Nation to allow this to happen for the United States to accept. So when I was in Miami or Cayman Islands, I reached out to my dad, and I asked him for a confirmation letter of blood quantum. And he replied saying, "Oh, we don't do blood quantum. It's very disrespectful. So what we can do is we'll give you a letter stating that you are a First Nations band member." So coming back through Miami, I sent it to him. Thankfully, within that time frame I was away, I got the letter and I showed it to him. So he's put it on file. And I've never gone through the States, especially recently in the past year. I've bypassed the States. But anyway, so having to come back to your question of to have the process, whatever it may be, it just to have that saying I've dealt with it, and for me to have, that's one of the major boxes that I wanted to tick, was to have that in place, was having that part in. And yeah, hopefully going through, it's going to be a huge milestone.
Like a bookend on that chapter of your life, and like really, like, can you speak more into that a little bit? And like, because like it's like that part of you is like, it's old you, but it's also like, it's part of you in a way that like, you can't separate yourself from that. Like in a good, like not in a,
no, for sure.
Who you are, like that was the building block of you, right?
Yeah.
Like that's an experience you had, and so it is a part of you, but being able to kind of, just kind of bookend that part of your life and be like, oh, this is, I don't know, just, is there any, maybe there's nothing, but yeah.
No, for sure, yes, just to come back to so having the outcome of having the party actually go and play, and it is set in stone, there is a part of it that's been granted, that would be a huge thing in the sense of to finally address that, because it is a major event, or it is so it's such a large scale of what I've done, and to come to terms with it and to be able to close that chapter of that one part of my life, legacy, so to speak, and to have that and to be able to walk free from it, because it is a chain, it is a shadow of, or a cloud that we have over my head, and to have that dealt with will be definitely freeing, because I can say that I have a part of it. I can say that it's been dealt with in the sense of legality, and the process has been authentic, and it's not me just hiding that chapter away and covering it up, but it's actually being dealt with. That would be really great. And how I conduct myself, and to have that confidence of saying, I've done that, I've dealt with it, and I do have a part in stamp or certificate, whatever you're going to give me. And to have that, yeah, it will be a huge motivating factor to keep going, and to give me a confidence that I've dealt with it, and have the necessary people with me to support me along the path.
It's like a certificate of your healing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
such a silly thing, but it kind of, I feel like that's what it can look like to a lot of people. It's just like, oh, it's proof that like I've improved, or like I made a mistake and I learned from it, and we all make mistakes, right? So like,
yeah, exactly, for sure, exactly. And it's just having that, the milestone of it, and just not, because it's 24 years. To finally bring it forward, and bring it to light, and to deal with it is, yeah. So it's definitely a huge confidence building, and making sure that it's being dealt with. Yeah, instead of running from it. Not running from it, but like kind of like. Not looking at it.
yeah. If you don't really go running from it, it's sort of that thing that it's like, it's there, and that's okay. Like, it's like,
Yeah. I can't think of anything else.
What's it like, this is not for the film, but like, what's it like to talk about this stuff?
You know what, it was, just to touch base on the Bears there stuff, like when I was going through it and had to share that in front of the camera, like I haven't done that. And so I had to go through, that's why I wanted to make sure to say that when you are bringing up your past, and make sure that you have to deal with it in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. When I was in the Bears there stuff, I brought all that stuff up, and I never really talked about it in front of people. And especially with the audience that they're going to have, I had issues after going out. Like I kind of went through a little dark phase because I brought all that stuff up again. But that showed me, okay, well, I have to deal with that. If that came up still, I mean, I still have tender wounds about it. So that's why I made sure to like, okay, no. That's the past. It's okay. If you want me to know, it's all good. But no, it's great to see it, to hear, to voice it.
Yeah, I really appreciate everything you said. It's great.
Yeah. But I do want to make sure that you only the proper stuff.
Please,
I hope I kind of touch base on it. Like,
you told me everything you said was amazing. I really appreciate it.